Girls only date older men. I prefer guys my age.
I effing hate you and hope you die.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. 'Tis I, your host, Mr. Sean, and today we are continuing our cringy, beardy, incel-y content with posts from r/inceltears, which of course is a site that, is a subreddit that curates all the, in quotations certainly, best incel quotes from Reddit and the internet at large. If for some reason this is the first incel content video you've ever seen, incels it stands for involuntarily celibate, but what it actually is a bunch of angry people who decide that their life is awful and the world is to blame because they can't get laid. And we're going to look at their posts, so be respectful, but also cringe heavily. Deep thoughts. Teenage boys are drifting into the incel/manosphere ideology because there's no alternative rock on the radio anymore. Back in the 90s and 2000s, if you were a pissed off, lonely teenage boy, you had alt-rock, emo, punk, nu metal, etc. to scream along to. Radio stations actually played songs about alienation, heartbreak, and rage that felt real. Music gave you a way to feel less alone without turning the energy into pure hate. Now that whole outlet is basically gone. Mainstream radio doesn't touch anything like that anymore. Instead of finding a band that channels their frustration into something relatable, a lot of boys go online and stumble into the manosphere or incel forums. Like we ripped away their soundtrack and handed them podcasts about how women are the enemy. Okay, despite the pseudo-intellectual mocking voice I just used, I think this guy might have a bit of a point. I don't think that the manosphere exists because there's no alt-rock on the radio, but I do feel like with a lot of subcultures, when you feel disenfranchised and you seek to join one because you want to feel like you belong anywhere, you tend to gravitate honestly towards the first subculture that reached out to you. And let's be honest, the manosphere is the only one right now that's recruiting. I definitely think we need to be reaching out to disenfranchised youths, so to speak, youths, and trying to give them better ways to channel this frustration, like maybe Dungeons and Dragons. Here we have a post stating that this is how incels react when an overweight guy has a girlfriend. Genuinely, what the F am I doing wrong? Well, I don't know. This guy seems got a smile on his face. The girl's smiling. I mean, people aren't attracted to any one thing. I mean, in all honesty, yes, I understand you can't boink a personality, but most of your time in a relationship, you're not going to be doing the horizontal mambo. You're instead going to be spending time together, and that is where personality comes in. And I bet this guy has an amazing one. Here we have a bit of discourse where Hoops is saying, men, delete one forever. Basketball, sex, music, women, money, water, or weed. And the response is, woman, effing simps, Lamau. And followed by a third response, no women, but you kept sex? Yeah, I see how you livin', lol. I mean, to be fair, the guy that responded might not even be an incel. He might just be gay, and that's fine. Hey guys, did you peak in high school? I certainly didn't, and thank God, but here we have a rage fuel post from an incel who has decided he is fueled with rage because I cannot forgive Foids for denying me attention in high school. They should have been obsessed with me during high school. That's what I was owed, yet every single one of them denied me. They all flocked to the same few chads and left me in the dust despite me being worthy of infinitely more attention than those R-word jocks. I hate them for this, and you should too. We should have been the one getting teen love and sex, not them. The most devastating part about this is Foids will never be held accountable for what they did to us. They live lives of hedonistic pleasure while being handed everything on a silver platter, all while at the same time we rot on some obscure forum. There is no justice, no karma, no effing nothing. It makes me rageful while I have to live a life of misery while these repulsive W's are happy. They deserve to feel the emptiness that I feel for the rest of their superficial, useless lives.
Yes, precious, the Twixie Hobbits is twixt us. They's evil, they's awful, we hates them.
But seriously, my guy, you can't get held up on high school. I mean, my high school was pretty mid. Like my high school experience was pretty mid. Probably could have been better if I'd put out any actual effort into making it better, but I didn't. I actually kind of came into my own later. And I mean, I'm no Chad, to be perfectly honest, but I'm a happy person. And I look back on high school and go, yeah, that was a time. You couldn't pay me to go back to it, but also, I mean, yes, there were some people in my high school that were getting laid, but the majority weren't. It was actually more of like an outlier if you and your significant other were doing it. Like, it was something like, oh yeah, did you hear so-and-so did that? It's like, wow, really? Like, huh. So, I mean, again, high school being the best time of our lives is a lie told to us by people who peaked in high school and by late night comedy TV. Thinking that your high school experience should have mimicked stuff out of the movies is like thinking that sex is actually like what you see in the adult films. It's just not true, and it's a lie told for entertainment, and you need to stop focusing on that and move on and live your best life now. Next up, we have a post titled, I try to speak to women, but as a 5'5", 17-year-old, it is impossible. Maybe they can't hear him from all the way down there, but let's see. To everyone on this page who cries about incels, I understand you to a certain extent, but as a male who is short, please understand how hard it is to speak to women when I am short. Some women reading this might think differently to those at my college, but I have tried to speak to women, and they all reject me, and they say I am short. So all those women who are upset about incels, please reach out to me, and we can start talking, unless you don't want to speak to short men. College in the UK is 16 plus, not the same as university. Okay, so what you're saying is if women don't want to talk to you specifically, it has to be that they don't want to speak to short men. Guys, I'm 5'8", which is an inch shorter than the average man, and only 1 inch taller than Tom Cruise, who is considered to be incredibly short. So I don't know if I'm considered a short man. I don't know if I get to be in that club, but I'm certainly not tall, and I am below average to be the least. And I've never had trouble talking to anyone because of my height. I used to work with a guy who is 5'3", and he was obsessed with the fact that he was 5'3", saying that no woman would ever date him because one time he was hanging out with a girl who told him that they got along really well, but she didn't want to date him because she didn't want to risk having short kids. And while yes, that is a thing that can happen, that's one person. And don't base your opinion of every individual in a group based on one shallow person. Yes, there are women out there who will only date tall guys. There are men who will only date short girls or tall girls or black girls, white girls, skinny girls, fat girls, small girls, tall girls. I'm calling all girls, but it's people have preferences. And just because you're not one person's preference doesn't mean you're not anybody's preference. But like definitely if you're a 17-year-old who is talking about how women don't like you around women, yeah, they're not going to come talk to you. And no, if they don't come talk to you, that doesn't mean they won't talk to short guys. They probably talk to plenty of short guys. They just aren't talking to you because you are obsessing over something that they don't even care about for the most part and are making them the villain for it. It's not a good look, man. Next up, we have this post where someone is asking, why are women lying about this? Like, what's the actual cause? And what they're saying women are lying about is we have the before and after pic of a man named Ollie Murs before and after a 12-week gym transformation. Now, of the people surveyed, 24% of men think he looked better before. 27% of women think he looked better before, while only 7% of women think he looked better after, yet 43% of men said he looked better afterwards. So this person is accusing women of lying about their preference, and there is a response to this, and it's men projecting their own idea of what they think a hot man is onto women is easily the cause of 90% of male insecurities. It's men who make you feel inferior, not women. And yes, I do believe this is true. In fact, I actually believe it goes both ways, that in both genders, men are the ones making men feel insecure and women are the ones making women feel insecure. Guys don't get buff for women, they get buff for other guys. Women don't lose weight and put on makeup and dress nice and wear high heels for men. They do it for other women because it's the people in their own gender that are judging them more than the opposite gender. And I feel like this is something that really does need to be looked at more, addressed, and rectified, because again, we don't need to be bringing each other down no matter what side we're on. Now, guys, despite what you might think, there are in fact female incels. In fact, the term incel was coined by a woman who identified as one. She came up with the term involuntary celibate to refer to herself. Yet these femcels are often either chastised by the incel community or outright denied as even being real. And here is one of those posts. Femcels are worse than incels. Incels will at least have the misfortune of accepting their incels. Femcels will just find a way to make men the problem. Oh, hi, pot. Meet kettle. Guys, I know we've all been guilty of this. It is so much easier to just say that someone else is responsible for your problems, that it's not your fault, because that requires a lot of introspection, reflection, and then actively working towards making things better. And when you stop identifying as an individual and start identifying as wholly part of a group, it's easy to pick another group to say, this is the reason why we're upset, whether that's femcels blaming men or incels blaming women. Unfortunately, this is something that happens way too often. And again, I think people need to start taking accountability for themselves, for their actions, and finding ways to move forward. Now, here we have an odd one, because apparently this guy never looked in a mirror. I cried for the first time in years today, after realizing I'm a curry cell. I was driving in my car listening to music and enjoying myself. Suddenly I got a pit in my stomach. I looked at the skin of the hand that was on the driving wheel, and it was brown. I feel great existential dread after realizing I'm a crab skin. I realized this is my only chance at life, and I was born a curry cell. I felt tears pouring down my cheeks unconsciously, and I had to pull over and weep like a Victorian widow. This was the first time I've cried in years, and it has to do with something as ridiculous as this. Look, dude, I hate to tell you this, but India, where your heritage hails from, is one of the most densely populated countries in the world, meaning that Indian guys get laid. And if you're not getting laid, it's not because of the color of your skin, but because of the color of your soul. Also, why did it never dawn on you until now that you're Indian? Do you not have a mirror in where you live? Next up, we have someone who is, I guess, genuinely asking a biology question, but it's a little unhinged.
When eating out a virgin, do you inhale the hymen? I've always wondered this. When Chad takes the virginity and eats her out, does the hymen come out too, and does he consume it? I haven't seen any videos of this happening, and nobody to ask, but it makes sense from an animalistic perspective.
Dude, what do you think the hymen is? Are you thinking of the placenta? And that's in a completely different situation, my dude. What are you asking? All right, guys, we are going to do a trigger warning right here, because this one is going to be a bunch of incels talking about a certain non-consensual act and their approval of it. So be warned. What is worse, R or inceldom? And unfortunately, guys, only 5 out of a total of 47 voters, 5 or 10.6% said R was worse, while 42 votes or 89.4% said that inceldom was worse. But please do remember, this is on an incel forum and therefore not an accurate portrayal of a constituency other than a bunch of incels, but they discuss it.
R is just a temporary discomfort that usually lasts for a few minutes and is one time only, and then you are free. While inceldom, you are too ugly to have a girlfriend, friends, a job, have a car, etc. And 99% of the time it's permanent. An R victim can still have all these things while an incel can't.
Not to make light, but I didn't realize I needed to get laid before I could have friends, a job, or a car, because I had all of those things before I ever got laid. Apparently I'm doing it wrong. And some responses for this. You shouldn't take R seriously. Again. Not sure what the again's about. A response to that one.
Indeed, R for foids is only R if it's done by a sub-8.
By being an incel, women have reverse-R'd me by not giving me sex. How could it be any worse? And someone said, yeah, this is 100% accurate, which is weird. And as the discourse continues, someone goes, well, then why do people have kinks about R? Maybe because people are messed up. I don't know. But the response they're given is, because women love sociopaths and psychopaths. And just so you know, these people are so afraid of women, they actually censor out the O in women because they're censoring the word women. It's ridiculous. Then, yeah, they do love psychopaths and sociopaths and psychopaths because they want Chad to commit to them and make them submit to their giant D. I mean, I feel like this is just a bunch of back and forth cope. It's these people are so disenfranchised. They want to feel powerful by saying these things. And I mean, again, you don't bring yourself up by putting others down. All you're doing is filling yourself with hate, guys. And I don't know if you know this, but feeling hate all the time doesn't feel good. In fact, it's quite exhausting. Well, guys, time for some of that black pill rhetoric. And it says, normies are blind to how attractive some men are to women. Sometimes I think normies are blind to how some men are more attractive than others. I remember getting some food with some normies, and the employee who asked us what we'd like to order was an HTN, a pretty boy. Afterwards, I was very upset, but they seemed unbothered. I looked towards a table filled with females. They were all glancing over at him and giggling. How could they not see it? These normies even talked about picking up girls. I mean, so are you unaware that some people are always going to be more attractive to others than others? Like, everybody has preferences. Everybody is different. What attracts one person is not going to attract others. And also, it is more than just looks. Like, that guy could be really pretty, but he has a god-awful personality, meaning that he is going to catch the eyes of many women, but he's not going to have a lot of relationship success because that's all there is. It's all surface level. Meanwhile, average looking or even somewhat what you would consider unattractive guys who are kind, who are compassionate, who have interests that they're passionate about, they will bring people to them with their positivity and their positive outlook on life. Guys, it's not just looks. With guys or gals, it is a whole package. If you are with an absolute 10 out of 10 smoke show, but she has the worst personality, yeah, maybe you'll give it a shot for a little bit, but it's not gonna last. And I know people always bring up, well, what about trophy wives? They don't have any personality. Yeah, but also, when in the case of a trophy wife, usually that's for people who are so successful and so busy, they're barely spending any time with said wife outside of the bedroom, meaning that that's all they're looking for. They just are marrying someone to have intimacy, and then they're off living their life. So not really a one-for-one here. Now, as you guys are listening to my channel, I would assume you know what comedy and satire and making jokes is, but apparently not every incel has the ability to determine that, because this one is ranting over a post that, as far as I can tell, is clearly a joke. But the toxic femininity is the tag here, and it's, I love turning incel guys into a supremacist. And this is the response to a post. This is what awaits for any dumbass simps who think trying to have a relationship online is a good idea. Women are waiting for easy targets, and they absolutely will take the opportunity to manipulate men when it presents itself. What made you feel like that, buddy? Well, looks like Sophie over on X said, I love turning incels into a femme supremacists, heart emoji. It's so easy, like he lacks female attention so much anyway, so you just talk to him for a bit. He tries flirting, you gently friend-zone him, but give him small attention treats when he does what you say. I mean, that's what incels think women do, so seeing someone make a joke and say that online, clearly suspicion confirmed. Alright guys, coming in with more rage fuel. I hate normies who say Elliot Rodgers was decent looking / attractive. No, he wasn't. In one of his videos, he literally got called a creep by a group of girls while driving around and recording. I can read normie language, and usually in normie definitions, decently attractive just means a sub 5 or 5 out of 10 at best, being overrated to prove their points. It's like they know the shooter is ugly, but don't want to say it so they say decent looking. Otherwise, they would have been proven
proven right on looksism being correct. There is this bipolar narrative unique to Elliot where he is seen as decently attractive dude, but also at the same time made fun of for his looks and called ugly. Amount of time where I saw them call him ugly, but also backpedaled when discussing why he couldn't get girls by claiming it's about the personality and not his face.
Now, if you are fortunate enough to not have ever heard of Elliot Rogers, I envy you. Elliot was an incel who ended up unaliving a bunch of people out of frustration because he could not get laid. And he wrote this big, long manifesto, and it is the most self-serving, zero self-awareness thing you will ever have the unfortunate, the misfortune of reading. And the problem is that Elliot was attractive. I mean, honestly, I would consider myself maybe like a 5 or anywhere from 5 to 7. I'm not unattractive. I'm pretty plain, but I would put Elliot as far more attractive than I am on like a base looks only level. But when you see his videos, when you read his manifesto, you just see that this is a entitled little creep who doesn't want to put any effort into anything, thinks he should just be able to instantly become a millionaire so that women will like him for his money, puts zero effort into actually trying to cultivate friendships or meet women. In fact, when he finds out his roommate in college has already had sex, he goes into his room and he cries and then wonders why people are laughing at him due to his completely unhinged reaction. And this guy hated everybody because he couldn't bring himself to look inward and hate himself for the things he didn't like. It had to be other people's fault. And yeah, when you read his words, when you see his videos, you get that this guy was a creep. His looks had nothing to do with it. It was the fact that he would drive around in his expensive luxury car, hoping that women would approach him because he had a nice car, because he wore expensive clothes, while having no actual personality that would attract anybody. But of course, him becoming kind of the incel saint, for lack of a better word, they have to keep saying that he was unattractive, because otherwise he is the perfect example of how looks aren't everything and personality counts, and they don't want to believe that. But Elliot Rogers is the perfect example that you can look good, you can be rich, but if you aren't fun to be around, people won't be around you. And guys, here we have a fun little comic that starts with 3 women talking about their preferences. I like muscular guys. I like chubby guys. I like skinny guys. And of course, an incel comes in. See? All women want tall and muscular guys. Anyone that says otherwise are virtual signaling. Yeah, again, the incel rhetoric really falls apart once you have to admit that preferences exist. It's funny, this isn't even real world preferences. My D&D group and I were all talking about who we chose to romance in Baldur's Gate 3 on our individual playthroughs, and I mentioned Shadowheart was mine, and one of my players goes, well, isn't she a little skinny for you? And it's like, well, you're right. In real life, absolutely, but I had limited options in Baldur's Gate 3, and Shadowheart is a snarky emo whose history is deep-seated with various types of family trauma, and when she goes through great emotional upheaval, she changes her hair color. And guys, I'll be honest with you, that's a great description of the woman I married. So yeah, despite Shadowheart being a bit skinny for my liking, she's the one I chose in Baldur's Gate. Guys, trigger warning again, as we're about to discuss some unpleasant events leading to a premature loss of life, where we're talking about an Andrew Tate fanboy who ran over and K'd 2 teenage girls in New Jersey after one of them rejected him. Vincent Bettiloro, a 17-year-old at the time, of this post, was charged with the hit and run of 2 teen girls in New Jersey. He is an avid Andrew Tate fan who allegedly stalked one of the victims before K'ing them. Vincent regularly reposted and replied to Tate's tweets on Twitter. Friends and family of the victims say one of the girls filed a restraining order against him after he harassed her for months and sat outside of her house. In New Jersey, minors can be tried as adults in the case of homicide. The victims, Maria Niatis and Isabella Salas, were also 17 years old. And there's no joke to be had here, guys. This is legitimately awful. Being able to take rejection is just a part of being a human being. And by 17, you should be able to be rejected. 99.9% of us out there do not lead a charmed life, that by that age we won't have experienced any rejection, any failure. It's something that growing up you have to learn to take defeat gracefully, whatever that defeat is. Sometimes you have to accept that you have to take the L, because as we see, when someone is unable to do so, it doesn't just ruin their lives, but it can ruin the lives of others who did not do anything wrong. And that's just really tragic. Okay, guys, deep breath. Let's get back into the cringe and the comedy. Male-only conscription is institutionalized misandry. I'm being serious. The act of conscripting men and sending them out to get shot to pieces in pointless conflict is one of the most blatant and horrible demonstrations of misandry there is. It is genocide dressed up as heroism, barbarism, and slaughter disguised as duty. Hundreds of thousands of men die every year from it, while women are not forced into warfare, and never has been. Reportedly, over 130,000 Ukrainian men were slaughtered in their conflict with Russia in 2023 and 2024, and the women they treasured so much responded by throwing dance parties, showing zero empathy for their suffering. The fact that women are doing this only further reinforces the absolute privilege they hold over civilization, and society does not give a single crap. Therefore, does it not make sense that women with all their overwhelming power be sent off and replace men as the vanguard in the army then? Men have been suffering this since civilization being several thousand years ago, and it is slavery and sadism pure and simple. I see only two paths in the future. Either the draft is abolished completely, or women serve in equal combat roles to men. Female privilege is so horrendous and destructive. I despise it with a burning passion, and I hate how it has hurt my life and lives of men who have done nothing to deserve it. It is women's turn to suffer our burdens. They do not deserve our respect, nor do they deserve our support. Okay, a couple of things, my guy. One, I agree with you that if the draft comes back, that yes, men and women should both have to sign up for it. I mean, I know right now only men do, but I agree with you. I believe in equality. I believe both genders do need to be a part of that. I think men and women are just as capable on the front lines, especially when there's a lot more to do with computers now than just like being out in the trenches. But about women doing this to hurt men, you do realize that all of this, everything about this was put in place for the thousands of years you mentioned by men. The men were in charge. The men said, no, the women stay home, we go to war. Like, they did this. It's like how lemons are a hybrid fruit of the bitter orange and the lime, and life didn't give us lemons. We gave ourselves lemons. Just like men were not put into this situation by women. Men made this call. Men decided this was how it was going to be. Men did this to ourselves. So if you want to blame someone, blame your fellow men. And guys, here, a brief reminder that Godzilla has canonically pulled more tail than any incel combined. Don't be like an incel, be like Godzilla. I mean, dude, if I could be bigger than buildings and have radioactive breath, I would, but I just don't think it's in the cards for me. So guys, do you know how, like, if you don't like kids and then you hear children, the sound of children, like if they're screaming or laughing or crying, makes you angry? Well, apparently it can happen with foids as well, because hearing foids laugh makes me angry. Such a disgusting and harsh frequency. They sound like literal horses. It's like the estrogen forces them to be as obnoxious as possible. Giggling is one of the worst sounds on the planet. It forebodes or follows outbursts of femoid nature. Either teehee Chad is so funny, a laughing emoji, or teehee, that guy is such a sub 5, let's bully him into sewer slide, laughing emoji. I've never heard laughing preceded by any of those things, but I guess we've just lived two different lives. But oh, it goes on. Hearing foids in general gives me violent thoughts. This is the reason I want to leave my parents' house. My foid relatives make it impossible for me to cope and pace. Anytime I hear them, I legit feel an urge in my body to beat the crap out of them. It's true, women's laugh is prompted by Chad, not by humorous situations. Women's laugh is an indicator to attract Chad and how and show their sexual availability. Nothing more. After all, normies always say that if a Floyd laughs at your joke, even if they are bad, it's a sign that she's into you. It's a mating call. I know that these forums are an echo chamber, but I've always thought when I literally hear my own echo that it sounds ridiculous. So why don't these guys think they sound ridiculous when there's just echoes all the time? In my mind, it should be like when you listen to a song way too many times. And first you're like, yeah, this is a great song. It's like, yeah, this is a good song. Like, yeah, this is a song. And then, oh my God, not this song again. I mean, why do you not get tired of just hearing the same thing over and over again? Hey guys, and this next opinion, warning for, a guy who is promoting non-consensual acts, but he's being serious that he thinks this is the solution to femceldom.
Some women feel lonely. Perhaps the solution to this is to legalize R. Then men wouldn't be afraid of going to prison for giving them the love they want. The other benefit to this is that there will be less men in prison, which means women will have a bigger pool of men to select from. Besides, femcels rejected incels, so why should incels pity art femcels? Femcels should celebrate when normie women suffer due to being art, because femcels got bullied for being ugly by such women in school.
Sir, the plan you just gave is without a doubt the single stupidest plan I have ever heard. Everyone in my audience is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. And guys, here we have good old Bobby Hill, who is one of the perfect examples, in my opinion, of someone who incels probably identify with him a little bit, but he is the anti-incel. Bobby is a huge amount of positive masculinity, and if you don't believe me, actually go through and rewatch King of the Hill and the new episodes, and you'll see. Bobby is very self-actualized, but he's telling these short kings, you are short because one of your parents gave a chance to a short person by putting a sign on a window, and this angry teacher rips it down, only to tell Bobby, if those incels could read, they'd be very upset. Well, joke's on him, they're already upset. And that is the video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, I'm Mr. Sean. This is Mr. Sean Productions, and I sincerely hope that you alpha great day and an even beta tomorrow. Bye-bye.